Where do we even start? I mean, come on. Where do we go next from here as well?
In Canada, what we understand is the world's first baby to be genderless has now moved through the system.
But physically, you can tell. Okay, all right, I'm not getting it.
What are you talking about?
Maybe we need to have another word for male and female.
Yeah,
I don't know. Is it that word that's offensive?
It's getting out of control.
The United Nations was established to deal with the question of conflict, to make sure that we did not go back to war. Has it been in any way successful? It certainly hasn't stopped us going back to war. In fact, it's getting worse.
They've got a lot longer to be on this planet, and with conditions of the planet worsening month by month in terms of climate change.
Almost 400,000 people were forced to flee their homes.
Hamburg, already on virtual lockdown.
What do you think Jesus would have done in that situation?
Now, just because they decide that, science has decided, much other discussion has been made, is that when you have a certain set of genitals, sex organs, reproductive organs, that they are ascribed to be male or female.
Sure, a society like the one in Gattaca won't happen overnight, but we still need to be cautious because it could happen progressively. If we greenlight this kind of technology, who's to say we won't greenlight the next one, and the next one, and the next one?
Where do we go next from here as well? You know what? I'm going to be species neutral. From now, I'm going to be a toaster. I'm going to identify as a toaster. It's going to be fantastic. I think we have a responsibility to at least engender some sort of identity into our kids.
But why from the start would you make life so difficult for the kid to have to explain in all the forms, all the going through, that my mum and dad, is that gender normative? My parent, co-parent, guardian plus one, what is the official term here?
Up until now, our whole society has been rooted in the fact that every one of our genders is here because of chance. I am a woman today, not because my parents specifically chose me to be, but because that's just how the dice rolled. We now have a way to control for gender we have never encountered before. It's like tipping the scale in a balance that, up until now, we had thought to be fairly even.
Controversy continues over the new "In God We Trust" decals going on Grovetown public safety vehicles.
Mayor Jones took to his personal Facebook with a statement. He says, quote, "Without a doubt, the support has been overwhelming for this, and I stand behind my decision."
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to call your attention to something. According to Peter, this is the message of scoffers. The problems scoffers have with God's word and revelation is not only intellectual, it's moral, walking according to their own lusts.
Jack, you and Kristen both were very brave and decided to go on a show that just has a few opinions. The View.
So I do think the Bible has not changed because it was written thousands of years ago and translated 60 some times. So what we're reading, even if you study the Bible, is interesting enough. But faith has changed and it has evolved to accept people.
And you say no, you would not.
That's correct.
What do you think Jesus would have done in that situation?
I don't believe that Jesus would have made a cake.
You don't?
If he'd have been a baker.
Oh, come on.
But he would have.
Jesus would have made the cake.
He would have come out with them.
believe in the Bible and everything, but Jesus, that's a deal breaker. Jesus is going to make the cake.
But Joy, Jesus wouldn't contradict his teachings, first of all.
Now, this is pretty interesting. I've for probably over 10 years now, I would say, maybe even longer than that, I've loved studying generational patterns of the generations in the United States. Let me show you something very interesting. Under this point.
And broken down by age as well, millennials and Gen Xers were more supportive of the idea of these gender-neutral birth certificates than the older population.
Gen X, this is my generation. Gen X, those born between 1965 and 1983, 16%. What about the millennial generation? Millennials, those born between 1984 and 2000, 4%. Only 4%.
It is taught at our Christian colleges and universities, much less our seminaries, that Adam was a myth, that there was no person known as Adam, that he's just a construct, a literary form, a metaphor for some kind of primordial man. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't have time to go into all the details, but that is an extremely dangerous thinking.
Remember that. No scientific advancement has gotten the automatic green light without carefully exploring the moral and ethical implications of the situation.
But let me say this. While I don't think I can speak with authority on the scientific aspects of creation, there's some very gifted people who can do that. I can tell you this, that the matter of creation and origins is not just an issue for the scientists.
It's an act of, the genes they got were random, were chance. We weren't really deeply responsible for it. We were responsible for deciding to have kids, but we weren't responsible for the genes they ended up with. Whereas if you do gene editing or if you do embryo selection, you are responsible for your decisions, which makes you more morally chargeable in ways.
It is also an issue for the philosopher. It's also an issue for the historian. It's also an issue for the theologian. And from the realm of philosophy, I can tell you this: you cannot have a creation without a creator. You cannot have a beginning without a beginner. And these are some of the most fundamental truths. You cannot have an effect without a cause.
We have to understand the gravity of the consequences this could have and ask, where do we draw the line with ethical science? What is right and what is wrong?
So if we got really good at engineering our germline, you would have to anticipate, without knowing what it could be, that there's going to be some not necessarily negative consequences, but just weird, different, sideways things that become possible.
And mankind rebels against that knowledge. Mankind is anxious to put that knowledge away from them, recognizing that we do have a creator.
I'm proud of it. It's our national motto. Why wouldn't I be proud of it?
Would you consider getting one for your car?
Oh, yeah. I don't think there's enough of that in the U.S.
I think everybody ought to let it be known that we as America trust in God. And I think that would help us all if we'd remember that daily.
We want to reject the idea that he has any claim over us, whether it's the claim of creator, the claim of redeemer, the claim of ultimate judge.
The longest living couple in the state celebrated their 80th wedding anniversary today.
West Michigan couple is the longest living married couple in the state, possibly the country.
Now this love is for real, you will never let go, never let go. Whoa, it's more than just words that beyond my control, out of control. Oh, this is real love, this is real love. Oh, this is real love, this is real love.
He says the secret to everlasting love is honesty and forgiveness.
This